Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Stody.
And we are the FITT Show, helping our folks get their finances in shape. How are you doing today, Dope?
Man, I couldn't be better.
You're looking absolutely marvelous. Remember, it's not how you feel, it's how you look, and you look marvelous. So look, y'all, we're here every Thursday at 8 p.m. We're so excited because we provide a lot of information. We're hoping you not only absorbing some of this information, but you sharing it with your family and your friends. Like always, we say, please go out there and make sure you share on Facebook Live, and you also subscribe on the YouTube channel.
Hey, man, I love that shirt you're wearing today. That's nice.
Are you trying to be sarcastic?
I like it.
Okay, no, I thought you were going to try to, because it's a little shimmery, you might try to give me that Liberace or Little Richard stuff. I got to watch you.
I wouldn't do that.
I got to watch you.
You got style. You got style that I wish I had.
Oh, I thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. So, Dope, let's begin with our favorite subject to start off the show, the stock market.
Yeah, and it's been crazy. These are some really crazy times. The market was on a little run last week, and this week it's taken a couple of steps back. And you can see it's pretty much flat, but for the last week, the Dow was down 169 points, about 0.5%. NASDAQ is pretty much flat. Microsoft, as it pretty much goes as the NASDAQ does, it's flat. Tesla's down 8 points. It's still seeing the noise from Elon Musk being involved in this whole Twitter thing. And a lot of people are thinking once this phase that Tesla may be a good stock to have. It's starting to hit more of its deliveries. Some of its other rivals are getting up to speed, and so that's going to cause them some trouble down the road. But they seem to be doing okay. They've had a few more of those fatal car crashes when people are trying to use those autopilot. And for me, that's something I couldn't do. I couldn't just let a car drive. I'd be afraid to do that. But anyway, Apple's up a little bit. It's having some success. And Pfizer's up slightly, and both of those up about 2%. So everybody's wondering, the market took a big jump up because everyone was thinking that since inflation numbers were starting to look better, that the Fed may ease up on raising interest rates. But one of the Fed's leaders mentioned that he thinks they're going to keep raising interest rates. And it's kind of a couple crazy things going on because retail sales have still been pretty strong. The employment market is still tight. So there's a lot of positive things out there, but they're not getting the desired effect of slowing things down. And so if they have to keep raising interest rates, will probably push us into a recession. So next couple of weeks are going to be kind of dicey. The market's probably going to remain volatile. So just hang in and try to get through it.
Yeah, they are citing that, there's still some issues with the supply chain, even though President Biden sort of helped that along. But that the COVID, which is still big and really hitting China still hard, hitting a lot of those plants where they manufacture a lot of stuff. So that was messing with the supply chain also. And then, they claim the war in Ukraine. That's been taking a toll on us. So, but no one really knows, though. Everybody's just trying to speculate and just make it. That's why it's important that what we say is, as long as you take care of your situation and plan appropriately, it doesn't matter what's going on with the market or the world or,
don't panic. That's the
main thing.
If we could leave any message with you about this crazy market, it's going to be volatile for a while, but don't panic. Don't sell when it's low and buy when it's high.
That is very true. So, though, let's talk about my topic. I like to talk about the cryptocurrency market, which is still taking a beating, Dope. And let me just start off with the total crypto market market cap is at 920. No, excuse me. Last week was at 925 billion. It has dropped down by $58 billion to 867 billion. That's about a 6% drop. That's pretty significant. It's still dropping. Bitcoin is still the number one cryptocurrency out of over 18,000 cryptocurrencies. It has dropped from last week by $783 down to $16,764, which is approximately a 4.4% drop. Pretty significant again. Ethereum, the smart contract cryptocurrency, was supposed to be supposed to give a better structure for you, give you a little bit more confidence. That has dropped down over 80. No, I'm sorry. That's million. That's 86 million. Excuse me, 86 million. And that's about 7% drop. Then Tether, which is what they call stable coins, was supposed to be backed by a dollar. It is still down. Actually, I should have changed it. Last week it was at 0.099. This week it's still at 0.99. I didn't change that. Needed to change that. The Dogecoin stayed flat at 8 cents, and Shiba Inu dropped and added another zero. It was already 4 zeros. Now it's 5 zeros.
Hey, Bob, do you think some of the reason the people pulling out of cryptocurrency because you got like favorable interest rates other places to put your money? Like I'm saying, saving accounts at 3.5%, 3.7. Robinhood will give you 3.75% on a savings account. You think people are taking their money out of there and putting it in something safer right now?
And it's never one thing, though, and that's one thing. But another thing is the actual dollar is strengthening. And remember, the whole cryptocurrency was created to go against the dollar because, they felt the central bank, which is the Federal Reserve, made all the rules and control and was just printing money like, it was going out of style, and the dollar was really devouring. So your dollar really wasn't worth a dollar. But now the dollar is starting to get strengthened. It's been getting strengthened more. So like you said, now people are going to places which they call the fiat currency, which is the currency of the government, and they're getting like 3-4% at in banks now, though, especially some of the financial institution banks that are online, that are insured by the FDIC, that has no mortar. They're giving an even higher interest rate. So I'm sure that's affecting it too, though. And I'm sure a bunch of the big time players is taking their money off the table, So it's a couple of things that's driving it. And it's just like we said, it's highly speculative, and we always say that you don't put money in there that you really need.
Right.
And remember, our statement was always plan to lose money, which sounds like a crazy investment strategy. But with cryptocurrency, that was the deal. But I know a lot of people that made out, though, and I'm talking about very well. They got in like in 2009. I think cryptocurrency started in 2009. And I know people that got in 2017 and made out.
Well, they only made out if they got out.
Right. Right. That's the thing with cryptocurrency. So that's interesting. So dope. Last week we talked about the 2022 year-end review, some of the moves that you could make, need to think about. Got a lot of great responses about that. But we're going to take another twist tonight, you all. And we're going to talk about stop worrying about money and how to stop worrying about money, to give some tips. Because it's worrying about money, that's nothing new.
Yeah, a lot of people, it's been it's such a big part of their life, and people aren't meeting their goals. There's a whole lot of things that cause that. And we saw this Forbes article we decided to talk about, and it kind of hit on some things that we often talk about. So we want to try to bring some of those things home to you. And mostly it's about stress, and people are feeling stressed out. And usually it's your financial situation that's causing you to be stressed out. That's the top cause of stress in the US, according to the American Psychological Association. 54% of workers cite money matters as their biggest cause of stress. That's more than their job, which is only 18%, relationships 12%, health concerns are 11%, which is startling when you think that over half the people, half the workers, money is the thing that's driving them crazy. And it can have stress can beat you up physically. It can have a major impact on your physical and mental well-being. And they feel from 75 to 90% of all doctor's visits are stress-related ailments. Chest pains, headaches, high blood pressure, insomnia, depression. Those are all things that cause you stress because you're worried about your money. So what we're going to talk about is giving you some things to lean on so you don't worry as much about money.
And as Doe told you, we citing from an article in Forbes.com written by Danny Pascarella, and we just thought it was so important. And I know a lot of you all will probably think of, the topic worrying about money. It may sound very insignificant, but it is a major. And like I said, it doesn't matter when it is, though. Even when times are doing good, if the market's up, I know people still be stressing about money. It's the number one cause for divorces in America. So that's why we just want to take this time to really address, about worrying about money. Because one of the first steps of getting rid of money stress and living a happier, healthy life is to identify specifically what is causing you worry. And I don't think people do that. Sometimes you just need to step off the little treadmill, the little wheel of life to be going round and round, and you be on there. You sometimes need to step off of it, step back and look back at your situation, because sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees. And so we want to talk about, about maybe 5 common situations that cause us to worry about money. And we want to talk about what to do about them. And if you have some ideas through the show tonight, we always look forward to you putting them in the comment box, because we're not saying we know it all, but we want if you have any ideas, we just like for you to share them with us.
Yeah, and us being a little older, and we obviously have a lot less to worry about. I think Bob has a few more years to go with his daughter in college and medical school and that kind of thing. So that's a pretty big expense. But for the most part, Bob and I are in a situation where we're in retirement, we're comfortable in retirement, we aren't worried about building wealth. And so we realize our situation is a little different. But the things we're going to talk about, if I could have taken these back 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago, I think it would have helped me to have worried a lot less than I did. And that's why we want to get these across to you. And the first one's a major one to me anyway. You don't trust yourself to make the best decisions. And that's a big one, because most schools don't teach personal finance. You probably didn't learn it at home. And so you never had the opportunity to learn how to manage your money the right way. Usually you do what you do, you hope it's the right way. And so it's so easy to hit the panic button whenever money comes up. It's important to make the best decision, but you're not sure how, you're not sure what to do, and you don't really have a roadmap. And there's so many variables and what ifs. And if you're coming up like Bob and I did, we were kind of just feeling our way through it, making decisions, and we just happened to make more good decisions than we did bad decisions. But so not feeling confident in your ability to do something that is important, that can be stressful. When you do something and you don't know if it's the right thing, and you kind of, throwing darts at the wall and hoping one of them stick or one of them hits the target. So that definitely can cause stress. Money management is a skill. It's like playing the piano, snowboarding. In order to feel confident in your abilities, and lessons of practice are necessary. That's what you have to do. So what do you do? And Bob often makes the comment, you don't have to be an accounting major or a finance major, but you got to become a money expert, at least as it relates to your own situation, or start working with one. And even if you work with one, there's a minimum level of information you have to learn to be able to articulate what you want that person to do. Because if he's not given a clear plan, what he tries to do may not be what's best for you, but he's basing it on what you've told him. So you at least have to gather a minimum level of understanding so you can articulate your goals, your plans, you can understand your spending, you can understand what future things might affect your money. So it's not your fault if you never had money management, but it's never too late to take control of your situation, learn a new skill, and that's going to benefit you for the rest of your life. If you can take the time, anytime you start, and learn some money management skills, that's something you're going to have, because most of them don't change. New trends come up, new fads come up, new investment opportunities come up, but the basic rules of investing, they haven't changed since the beginning of time. And you've got to take the time to learn those basic things again, so you can at least, at a minimum, have an intelligent conversation with someone who you entrust with managing your money.
And that's another big key, though, to trusting yourself that you make the best decision. We can't know it all, but it's associating yourself with the right people so that you can get that information. Because I have so many friends that are just stressed out with their money situations and debt, man. Oh my God, debt can drown you, feel like an albatross around your neck. But the key to getting out of debt is having patience. And that's another key, though, in helping yourself in the learning process and getting out, being able to make sometimes I see people beat themselves up because some of the wrong decisions they made,
Yeah, and
I know I made some wrong ones.
yeah, and just one disclaimer. I'm sure there's some people out there who had bad luck. Okay, really, you may have lost a job that may have caused you to go into debt. You may have had a medical emergency which may have caused you into debt. We're not trying to beat you up for having debt. Please don't misconstrue that. But we've given some hints on how to get out of debt. And if you're not in debt, don't go into debt. And if you are in debt, what's your line, Bob? If you're in a hole,
yeah, don't get a shovel.
Yeah, don't. And so that's what we're talking about. We're not trying to beat the people up who are in debt because of something that they couldn't control, but we're talking to the folks who can be in control, who can start thinking about the future, who can gain some knowledge themselves and start laying out a path of building wealth.
And we can't stress it enough, y'all, that it's knowledge is the key, and the more you get it, the more confident you will be. So, though, I want to talk about the next thing, number 2. Hopefully, can help people stop worrying about money, and that there's usually a disconnect between your spending habits and your values. Now, I know every dollar you earn, you should be getting closer to the person that you want to be, right? And it's so important to understand, and we talk about this a lot, the difference between your needs and your wants. Now, when you start planning and putting things aligned with the life that you want to live, sitting down, think about it. Like it'd be this many times before. people spend hours planning their vacation, their wedding, and don't spend nowhere close to the time of planning their financial future. But when this happens, we experience, when things get disconnected with our spending and our values, the cognitive differences, we start to be getting uncomfortable, and the feeling worry pops up, and all of a sudden, our actions start contradicting our beliefs. And let me tell you what I'm talking about, Doug. For example, consider a person who believes that being responsible and secure are their top priorities. They believe that, but they also have credit card debt and are broke because they're always out socializing with their friends. Their action is overspending directly contradicts the values that they most important to them. And this discomfort can quickly spiral into panic attacks and anxiety. But the solution is really to determine your core values and make sure your spending is aligned with them. Before you buy anything, you need to ask yourself, do I really need to do this? Is this in alignment with my personal core values? And if that answer is none of the above, then you really need to reevaluate what is, if it's a worthwhile purchase. I mean, there's a study, though, that they did in this international financial literacy survey, and they said in teens that 1 out of 5 teenagers they struggle with the difference between needs and wants. I know our friends and older people in my age group, it's not just young people, adults struggle with needs and wants all the time. Then you have these compulsive buyers that a lot of people, they just they go out and purchase sometimes to help they move, or it's just compulsive, and they spend outside of their needs. So, yes.
Yeah, and kind of an aside to all this, and so many of us, Bob and I included, we often talk about we didn't get the training when we were young. And this is another area where if you're poor, you not only start off poor, but that also means you're ignorant of how to handle money. So even if you come into money when you're poor, you still lack the requisite tools to manage the money that you do get. And that's where we are. Nothing can change that. But as Bob always says, the information we're trying to get across can be given to younger people to get them off on the right track. And we can complain about the fact that we're poor, and because we're poor, we didn't learn how to handle money. That's just how things are. That's the way of the world. But it's no excuse anymore. There's just too many things out there for us to learn from, and stop. Because the thing I was thinking about, Bob, with your topic was that a lot of times when you are poor and you want to, sometimes buying something can make you feel better. When you broke, and a new pair of Jordans might make you feel king of the world. And again, that'll last for a day, maybe two. But we got to get past that if you're poor, and really learn some money skills, and learn to say no, as you say. If you don't really need it, then don't buy it. Learn to value wealth.
Let me give you another technique too, though. Now, the old strategy was to make a list of your needs and your wants, right? And you make sure you take care of your needs before your wants. Well, the new financial advisor strategy is make them all your needs. But this is the catch to it. No needs and wants, make them all your needs, but prioritize them. And what's going to happen, those wants that you made needs going to end up on the priority list down low anyway. But some people feel like, oh, they're cutting themselves short. We don't want you to live like you're living in a telephone booth. But if you prioritize and make them all your needs and prioritize them, you'll get to them accordingly. So that's really important, though. I just want to share that.
And one more thing we said a couple of weeks ago, most people spend and then save what's left. But we always talk about paying yourself first and then spending what you have left over. Build that base of savings before you start spending, and that, keeping debt out of the equation, that should control what you spend if you save first.
Hey, Doe, before you go into your topic, can I just jump in? I want to say this. And we're trying, I'm telling you all, we when we put these shows together, we try to think of who we're talking to, and we trust us. We're not trying to be preachy, but the reason why we're talking about these particular type of topics, which are off from like actual physical strategies of like investing and budgeting and saving, things like that. It starts with in your mind, and so many people are stressing themselves out with this thing, and it's not all that difficult if you just sit down and try to apply some of the things we talk about. I just wanted to give that disclaimer, though.
Okay. Third item, you're avoiding something that you know is important long term. When we know something's very important, but we're not putting the effort and the thought into it in the short term, you feel like you're falling behind. It's another major cause of stress. The feeling of I'm not where I should be. I'm not on track for a bright future. That's stressful. Postponing saving for retirement. It's a great example. That kind of hangs over your head. I know I'm not saving for retirement. I know I'm not saving for junior's college. I know I'm not saving to buy a house. That all adds stress. So if you take control of your financial situation, you won't want to end up waiting. It doesn't get any easier the longer you wait. It gets more hard. It gets more difficult. And we always talk about the value of compounding and starting today. But avoidance is usually easier to do, but it can kill you in the future, and it can weigh over you, can hang over your head. It can cause all kinds of stress. So what you should do, get connected with your future self. What kind of lifestyle do you want to have a decade from now? Look 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, 2 or 3, 20, 30 years down the road. Look at an older version of yourself living your best life, and then figuring out how to get there and be willing to make the sacrifices to get there. Now, I can honestly tell you, I had no idea what retirement life was going to be for me. My focus was getting my 4 kids through college. And I kept saying I'll spend whatever I need to do to get them through. And then whatever I have left, that's what I'll retire on. But I was lucky enough I've always been a saver, and I've always been willing to sacrifice the short term for the long term. So I had put a lot of money away, and I did okay. But had I thought about this, I think I could have done even better had I looked more long term, but I didn't. And that, shame on me. But that's why we're trying to get you to think about, where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? And then set up a program to help you get there. And it's a lot easier to not spend if you know what the goal is. You know what you are going to get from that sacrifice you're making today. Not getting whatever it is you want to buy today, but you know what you're going to have 5 years from now. And that should be more important to you than that brief moment of joy you get from buying something today. So look down the road, think about what kind of life you want to live, whether it's retirement, whether it's paying for college, whether it's buying that first house, whatever it is. Think about it, and then set up a program to help you get there. And that may allow you to not spend money that you would normally spend, knowing that you have something in the future that you're planning on doing.
And that's good stuff you saying, man. It's an old saying, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today, because tomorrow it's going to come sooner or later. So that's good stuff, though. I love that, man. Hey, though, the fourth thing that causes us to worry and stress out and cause us to stress is with money is an expectation that you have for yourself feels impossible. Like when we were young, most of us, a lot of people created a list of their expectations. I wanted to play professional basketball. I wanted to see myself, doing a great job. Or perhaps you thought you'd be a homeowner or your student loan debt would be fully paid off by age 30. But life seldom goes according to plan. Like circumstances, situations, timelines can change unexpectedly. And when our goals feel unachievable, guess what? It's easy to say, why bother? And it's so easy for us to just throw up our hands and just give up. So, what is the solution? Redefine the expectations you have for yourself and the goals that you're working towards. Just do it on a regular basis. You should be setting goals that feel attainable and inspire you. Not goals that discourage you so much that you're trying feels pointless. And it's so important that it's a thing called SMART goals. And it's an acronym. Sure, many of y'all heard that before. I just want to remind you about that. It works. SMART, SMART goals. The S starts for, make them specific. Your goal specific. Make them measurable. Because if you can't measure them, how can you really tell if you are really getting close or if you are accomplishing them? They say make them achievable. That's the thing where we say make those goals, achievable. The R is for realistic. Be realistic with yourself. And then have a timeline. We always talk about the set a plan, but make sure you have a time horizon set, And then with your partner, then this becomes a lot of times disjoint you all. When one person in a relationship or in a marriage have one expectation and the other person has a totally different expectation, and it causes, confrontation. So it's so important to work together because, it's okay to have different expectations, different goals. But if you're working together, you need to get together and share them and come up with a plan that either is what they call a collaboration where both people can have their expectations and goals met, or the next step down is compromise. Somebody got to give up a little to get to where they're going, and it's so important.
No, excuse me, Bob. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So,
but think about how difficult that is when you talk about everybody's coming from different backgrounds, and if one person was always poor and you get to the point where you want something to show for what you're doing, or that buying something to compensate for something else that's not going well in your life, or because you're down and out and you want to buy something, or you feel you deserve something so you want to buy something. So it's hard to get one person on the right track and thinking and setting goals and doing the right things. But now you got to get two people on the same page to have the same goals. And when you talk goals, again, you have to talk 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. You get in arguments like, do I want to save for my kids to go to pay for their undergrad? Do I want to save for them to go to an undergrad at a state school? Or do I want to save for them to go to an undergrad at a private school? Or do I only want to save half? So you got all these different issues. And if you don't communicate, then and what you say, Bob, compromise, and what was the other one?
Collaboration.
Collaborate and compromise, then you're going to have a mess. And as I said before, so many of us, having been poor, don't have the skills to start with to handle money because we never had money. And so there's nowhere to start. You start getting money, you want to buy something. You want to enjoy yourself because you probably never have and never had that ability. But it's really, I was always lucky to have been around people who managed their money well. And luckily I was in that situation to see how people with money handle money. And a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So many blessings I had in my life because of that, like where I work and having been exposed to people at higher levels and seeing how they got things done, and me being able to copy some of those things. But a lot of people don't have that opportunity, and so they never learn, and you continue doing what you know and making bad decisions, which gets you deeper and deeper into a bad situation. So hopefully some of these things you can pass on to some of the younger folks. And it does, as we said before, it doesn't matter where you are. You can start doing these things tomorrow, no matter what situation you're in, and you'll be better for it down the road if you start doing some of these things. Okay.
And I want to make this last point though on the expectations that you have for yourself feels impossible. Life is all about changes. You have to adjust. You have to be ready and willing to adjust at all times. You must renew your mind almost every day. I'm sure y'all heard that before. Renew your mind every day. I mean, that's a little bit scriptural. We need to get there on you, but it's me. I'm using that as a practical sense. You know, you may have expectation today, but you really need to look at it and look at it in alignment with the things you want to do in your life. That's all I'm saying. Be realistic and be willing to adjust and change, and just look forward to the best life that you can live.
Right. Okay, number 5 is, and we've talked about this forever. You don't have a safety net. Okay, 78% of workers live paycheck to paycheck, and we don't have a safety net. When adverse situation like your car breaks or a medical issue or you lose your job, that can screw your entire life up. That can mess things up. And if others are dependent on you in your financial security, the pressure multiplies. Okay, and so an unexpected financial obstacle wouldn't just negatively impact you; it also could harm the people who are dependent on you. So we often talk about building an emergency fund. Try to have a benchmark would be 6 months worth of living expenses, and that's just a benchmark. If you could get 4 months, that'd be great. Okay, it'll take time and effort to accomplish, but if you're just starting out, there's no excuse for you not building an emergency fund, because if you didn't have any money before and you start getting money, there ain't nothing that you got to spend on other than your requirement. So you can put that money away for the long term. And once you get that confidence that you can handle unexpected things that come up, that's going to make you a lot less stressed. And that'll make the fact that you had sacrificed to build that money up, it'll make it all worthwhile. So we often talk about building that emergency fund. And again, you can start tomorrow putting some money away. So when something bad happens, you have it covered. You have it covered.
So 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, and I wonder, you and you have to say, but that's mostly poor folks, and again, it's a shame that the situation that you start in, but start working your way out of it. Start today, to figure out a way to build an emergency fund and make that part of what you do, part of what you think, part of how you think, and make it happen.
So those are 5 things to help you stop worrying about money. And right now, we want to recap those so that you really have them embedded in your mind and make sure, excuse me, that you share these with other people, and especially the young people.
Okay, and the first one is learn to get help. And we've talked about this a bunch, but spend an hour or less on Instagram, FaceTime, Twitter, Facebook, and all that stuff, and start learning about money at least as it applies to you. Either learn enough to be able to handle your money yourself or learn enough to be able to articulate with somebody who can help you.
Second, think before you buy. I don't know if you saw the article though with Bezos from Amazon. He said the other day, now they're laying off 10,000 people. Is it? Yeah, Amazon.
10,000, yeah.
10,000 people. But he said in another article, you need to slow down on purchasing large items right now. This is Bezos. He says you need to stop back down right now on purchasing, spending your money on things you don't need. This is Bezos, one of the richest man in the world, saying this. So think before you buy, you all. I mean, every dollar right now is important because it's just like we said at the top. Don't say it at the top. You know, despite some of the indicators of jobs are up. GDP is up. But the consumer price index is down a bit. These things are supposed to be great times happening, but they're not. People are still out here struggling. So think before you buy.
Yeah. Number 3 is work towards living your best life. Think about what life you want to live. Hopefully, Bob and I can be an example. We're living our best lives. We enjoying every day. We don't worry about money. We enjoy what we do spend money on. Set up goals. Think about how you want to live and work towards that. And that usually means you can't do everything you want today if you want to have something tomorrow. And as we always remind you, we're not saying live like a hermit, because you don't want to save a whole lot of money, then you die before you spend it. But find that happy spot between thinking about how you want to live in the future and saving for that, and also living today.
Set attainable goals. Like I said before, make them specific. One of the biggest stress about plans, goals, and objectives and timelines is that they are unrealistic, and it causes stress. That's when a lot of jobs, when you're working at a job and you have projects and they put all these deadlines on there, but they're not, really attainable. And sometimes the timelines are not realistic. So you need to make sure you set attainable goals and make sure they're realistic goals. And then, put, a timeline on there that are reasonable.
Hey, Bob, how often did you talk about financial goals when you were growing up?
Man, I talked about financial goals. Never.
Exactly. And that's something we need to start doing. You need to embed that in your head, your kids' heads, your nephews, your grandchildren, your cousins. You got to have goals when it comes to finance. You got to have something that's guiding you. Otherwise, you'll just be reacting to all the marketing that you see, which is everywhere. The subliminal, the TV, the Facebook, everything you see is trying to get you to spend money. If you don't have goals, all you're going to do is react to that. And most of that stuff you don't need. Trust me. And the last one is be prepared for financial obstacles. The car's going to break at some point. The plumbing's going to go out. The heater's going to break. Stuff's going to happen. Prepare for it. Have money set aside so it's not a catastrophe when something happens. We can guarantee you that bad stuff's going to happen to your house, to your car. Some people lose jobs. You got to be prepared for that. You can't prepare for everything, but you can prepare for some of it. So at least try to be prepared for bad things to happen.
And check this out, you all. This is the summary of the summary. Now we know, since we're talking about being realistic, we know some of you all are not going to stop worrying about money. But this is the trick and the key of not worrying about money. If you go back and look at those 5 things that we said, and that's how your mind works. It's though when you just said Bob, me and Bob don't worry about the money, and I don't. But I got to be honest though. The other day when I had to pay my daughter's tuition, the actual payment came in. I'm like, God, Jesus.
I know.
But
I remember those days. I remember
those. And my wife Tiffany was like, God, Bob, but but the thing was, and I'm not boasting, but we had the money to pay for it. That was the thing. Now, I'm not like I'm some me. Well, I am. I'm not like some on easy street and stuff like that. But we had it, and I told Tiffany, I said, "Girl, you know what? Yeah, we wish we had more, and just didn't have to even think about still planning our finances. We still do in retirement, though. It never stops, man. You got to still stay on top. Look, let me tell y'all something. Money is ever working. Even when you sleep, when you close your eyes, guess what? Money is working, though. It's changing. It's going up. It's going down. So don't get us wrong. You're never going to stop planning and being on top of your money, making decisions. I just want to help y'all understand that. But when you have the information, the support you need to make those good decisions, I tell you this, you will sleep a lot more better at night. So I just want to be realistic with.
And one more thing to add to that, Bob. And that doesn't mean a recession is not going to happen and you're going to lose 20% of your money. That may happen too. But if you do the 5 things we talk about, and you get to the point where you got an emergency fund, you understand your goals, your expectations make sense. You do all those things. Bad stuff can still happen, but you've done all you can do, and that should lessen your stress level. That you aren't avoiding something, that you do have goals, you do have an emergency fund. That should at least lessen the stress of things that you can control. Things can still happen that are out of your control, and you're wasting time worried about those because you got nothing to do with it anyway. But what we're trying to get you to do is control what you can control, get in control of what you can be in control of. And we're not saying that everything's going to be perfect if you do, but your stress level should be lessened if you do these things. It definitely should.
That's normally how it works, So with that, though, we want to thank everybody once again for tuning in. All our wonderful, stalwarts that stick with us. What's up, Rodney Madison, the noteexperience.com. And look, Rodney said earlier, though, when you hit this one thing, Rodney said, Doty's dropping nuggets. And look, Modestine, I know you're listening, and you got that daggone comment button right there. Now you put in here, I don't worry about money. Are you being realistic, Modestine? Because Modestine's retired, though, and she worked for the great FDIC. I must admit, the FDIC was very, very good to us.
Yeah,
that's right.
But again, let's make sure we understand. You worry, but you aren't worried that you haven't done what you need to do. You worry that the market might crash. Yeah, everybody has some fear of that, but you aren't worried about the fact that you don't have goals, that you aren't prepared for emergencies. Those are the kind of things you can handle. So that's probably what she means. She's handled her business as far as she can, and there's nothing else to worry about. You can't worry about because you can't control anything past that anyway. But that's what the point we're trying to get across is you got to handle what you can handle. And so many of us don't have those tools. So the first thing we talked about today was getting the necessary knowledge, taking the time away from Twitter to TV shows and all that kind of stuff to learn about money, to learn about managing your money, taking care of your money, understanding your money, learning what you should be doing. That's valuable. It's valuable information that will last you a lifetime.
So I'm giving Modestine a fist bump. Modestine, yes, I'm being realistic.
Amen.
Amen. Way to go, Modestine. Thank you all. Hey, Joanne Skinner, thank you for being out there. Another stalwart that stays with us. I'd like to shout out to my friends over there in England and Scotland who are watching. Thank y'all for tuning in, as we always do. Next week is Thanksgiving, correct, Dope?
Yeah, we're off next week.
We don't do a show on Thanksgiving because you know why? We thanks that we're able to give. Hello.
And we want to wish everybody a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving. And hopefully you'll hear some of the things we talked about and take some of them to heart. And as Big Bob always says, pass this on to the young folks. Pass this knowledge on to the young folks. They need to hear it because most of them came up just like we did, where money topics were not discussed. And so if you don't know, you don't know. And you can't do good if you don't know. You can't. There's no way.
And it's all about you all, especially with the young people, but this is through all ages. It's all about having a conversation. And number two, believe it or not, though, which we try to do, when you be talking about these money matters with these young people, tell them your story. I'm telling you, that's what we don't do enough, though. People don't tell their story, and everybody's got a story, and especially if it's a good story. So when you talk to them, just don't talk about, savings and budgeting. Tell them a story. Tell them a true story that, what you're going through. And I'm telling you, these young people want to knowledge you all. We get older. A lot of people say, man, these bugs crazy. I'm afraid to say something. They might snap off. No, believe it or not, because I do it all the time with these young people. They are really eager to listen to us. Some people say, man, they ain't listening. Yes, they are. They willing to listen to us. So make sure you share this information. That's all we want to make sure of that. What's up, my sister Gloria? Thank you so much for staying out there. I love you, my sister. And my sister Linda. And I think Nolia, she's on the wrong. I'm looking out here on my other side. I see you on the other side looking at last week's show. So, but that's okay. Okay, wait, but Modestine hit me up with Modestine said, happy Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for. Thank you. You're right, Modestine. And I'm trying, Modestine said, I'm trying to teach my nieces and nephews about savings. Go ahead, girl. Joanne said, they will listen. All right, I like that.
And you know what's funny, Bob? It's like, especially in our communities, people get so hyped up on athletes and rappers and how much money they make. And that's the funny part, because everybody knows the few that make a whole lot of money. But again, I would venture to say, in my career as an accountant, as a bookkeeper, I probably made more than the average NBA athlete. I'm not talking about the LeBrons, the Michael Jordan.
Right.
I'm saying the average NBA athlete. And I don't think most kids are aware of that. I don't think most kids understand that you can, if you do right with your money, you can have a pretty dynamic life, and you don't have to be an athlete or an entertainer to do it.
Amen. That's a good way to stop, Dope. Thank you all. That's awesome. So look, check us out. Not next Thursday, that's Thanksgiving, but the Thursday after next, we will be back with another interesting topic. And remember, y'all, put in the comment box some of the topics you like for us to talk about. And coming up soon, we're going to start having some guests that are specialists in these areas that is going to share the stories with you. So stay tuned to the FITT Show. Financial information for today and tomorrow, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for everybody chiming in with their comments. Wait a minute, Rodney coming up here. Yes, FTS is very good to me, but I'm still working with everything. Go ahead, Rodney. Rodney said, forget that retirement. I'm taking every dollar FDIC. I ain't mad at you, Rodney. I ain't mad at you.
Hey.
Have a good evening, y'all. Happy Thanksgiving.